Hey guys, it's Andrea from Enabling Progress Conversations around the ONDIS with Deb, friend of the show, co-host and chaos coordinator. Bit of a life update with me. I did a excursion with my community services agency to SeaWorld. Absolutely amazing. Shout out to SeaWorld and Village Roadshow.
I want to go back and see the penguins again.
Oh, we didn't get to the penguins, but we did. We did a behind-the-scenes education tour.
Oh, nice.
And me being me, I delayed the bus by going up to the Irukandji Research Lab.
Of course.
Of course.
But, I mean, that would have been so interesting.
It was, and I've been upgraded to buddy privileges, which, for the uninitiated, buddy privileges is if you're high functioning, low support needs, you've got a group together, low support workers like set an alarm on your smartwatch, your mobile phone, be back at the bus or the meeting point by this time.
Yeah.
Which I think is quite honoured.
Well, I mean, you're capable of being independent. And like you say, you've got your map, you know where you're going, you just follow it around and you're aware of time. So, other than going to the lab, but
yes.
But did they encourage perhaps one or two of you to kind of buddy up?
They did. They did, and we had a few who are, I'm trying to be polite, but due to their behaviours, have made it a bit of a downer on previous day trips. So they were one-on-one in a car. Basically, if this person played up, right, you're in the car, you're one-on-one, you're heading home. Down the line, and sometimes you need that, sometimes you don't.
It's about setting up boundaries, and you'll get the people that go, how dare you? That's restrictive, But in reality, I mean, you're going into a place where there's a lot of people. There's you need to know that this person is going to be able to cope with that. If they're showing behaviours of concern in the car, how are they going to go when they get out and get into an area where there's a lot of public people, there's a lot of people in general, not only just the other participants. So, it does make it very, very difficult on the support worker and support service side to manage that at times. So, boundaries are boundaries, and sometimes, and a lot of people thrive with boundaries anyway. Yes. We're not looking at, we're not shutting them in a cupboard. We're not doing stupid stuff.
No.
Well, better not be anyway. Hopefully not. Seriously, the commission would,
Yes.
But, and we know that stupid stuff has happened. But, we know that your company is not doing this.
No.
But, they're putting in place sensible boundaries.
Yeah.
For people that need those boundaries. So it's not restrictive, but no. It's enabling them to become what's the word,
self-independent and self-regulation.
Self-regulation. Yeah, it's that learning process, and it can take a lot for people to learn that. I mean, like so-called normal people. Like, what's normal? Let's not even go there. But a lot of so-called normal people can't self-regulate. I mean, how many Karens come out when the FBOSS machine's not working or something, and they have meltdowns. So it's across the board. So, but inherently you know right from wrong,
yeah.
And behaviours of concern in general are their way of, it's their power. It's their way of going, oh well, if I do this behaviour, then I'll get this. And, and you have to refine how you react to that behaviour concern. So if the reaction is, well, if you're going to be doing this, if you're going to have a meltdown, well, you're not going to be able to cope with this. How about we head home and we have quiet time instead? Oh, no. You'd be surprised how many behaviours of concern can change very quickly when they realise that things aren't going their way. So a lot of behaviours of concern are about that power of making it happen for them. So,
mm,
you know, those boundaries are can be quite simple sometimes.
yeah.
So,
And
you know,
and we all like safety in routine, safety in boundaries. Like
absolutely.
I
And
had,
that's a priority, like safe for the participants, safe for the staff, safe for the public. You know, when you're going into public spaces with people with behaviours of concern, it's very, very important to be aware of triggers and mood and you know, some people just put their head down and you know
yeah,
that's starting something that's, you know, and how you react to that early trigger is going to set the scene for the whole shift or the whole day. And it can, you know, and some people have reactions that they might have delayed reactions, and it could be, you know, the next day, and the next support worker cops it, and they're like, what the hell's going on? But it's from something that happened the day before, or 2 days, or a week before. So that's why your notes are so important.
oh god, yeah,
All of that kind of stuff, and those triggers, and it's not appropriate to say, oh, that's just Joe Blow, that's what he does.
no,
That's not. That's, you know, these are why these ABC forms are so important. I know a lot of participants don't have them, and you know, and a lot of people say, well, why would you need that? They don't have a positive behaviour plan. Well, okay, yeah, no, they don't, but that doesn't mean that they're not sitting at the table having a cry because you know, they've got peas instead of beans.
Yeah.
On their plate. You know, those kinds of things happen, and that's a behaviour.
It is.
You know?
And on the flip side, I had the funniest thing happen during community access. It happens to everyone. A support worker locked themselves out of my housing facility. I was terrified because let's just say in my housing facility there'd been a change of management. And I'm thinking, oh, what am I in trouble for? What am I in trouble for? The PA of this person was like, you're not in trouble. You're never in trouble. Are you around before we ring the real estate? We need someone to let you in. And I'm like, has anyone checked? And I won't dox myself. This area. The support worker went down. Oh, okay, thank you. They decided to ring me instead of the real estate because they knew I would have had an emergency key stashed.
Yeah, that's right, absolutely.
And it just showed me that...
And it pays to do that too.
Yeah, it does. It showed me that I'm simply being paranoid. And I didn't realise my paranoia was so bad, so I checked in with my counsellor, my doctor, getting all of that sorted, and...
But is that paranoid? Like, a lot of people have a spare key. Like, you know, I have a spare key out at my place. Like, you know, I used to, for the cleaners, I used to throw the spare key in the peg bucket.
Well,
like, you've got to find, you know, you have different things that you do. Like, a lot of people have those key rocks, not that I kind of go with the hide a key idea, but a lot of people have the things that hang on the door like a padlock, and you key in a code.
That's actually what I've got.
Yeah.
Well, I'm more talking about the so-and-so's ringing, what have I done? And that for me, I was thinking about where that reaction's come from. And I'll clear this with the housing agency, but because that is the exact reason why there's been this change in management, because so many participants will feel like, what have I done?
Yeah.
And you should never feel like that in a still.
Yeah. But for some people that can be a symptom of previous abuse and things like that as well. Like I have different triggers from my previous life.
Yeah.
And, you know, and now that I'm not in that, and it takes a lot to step away from that kind of thing. And now that I'm not in that, when different things are said, I'm kind of like, oh, hang on a minute, like you know, and I'm realising, you know, those triggers now. But and it's a trigger. It's like, oh, I don't want to answer the phone to that person. Well, you know, why not? Obviously, there's a problem there, something that's unresolved, or something from previous where you felt, you know, that you've been, you know, the way they've made you feel. And they often say it's not about what you say, it's what you do, it's the actions, and it's the way you make people feel.
Yeah.
So, you know, and as a support coordinator, as soon as I feel I've lost the trust of someone, which recently I've had that happen,
Yeah.
where it wasn't my fault, but we've had a service provider looking after someone, and they've gone, oh no, we don't want them, and it's like, well, this is a trial period, give it a chance, because you haven't really given the support workers enough of a chance. But unbeknownst to me, in the background, the complex team from the NDIS had said you cannot get rid of them, and yeah, and because then I've gotten the blame because I've brought that team in, and it's like, well, I've lost that person's trust. So that's time for me to move on and have another support coordinator take over that they can work with. So, I've done a cessation or a cancellation of services for that person because, and I think they haven't answered. I think they've kind of gone into a bit of shock because they usually, and on the previous service provider, they had sacked for up to 40 support workers.
Really cleaning house.
Yeah, but it was just knee-jerk reaction to a lot of things. And no, don't want that person. Or someone will say something in the wrong tone or something like that. No, don't want that person. So I've had to be very, very careful. So being my own business, I've gone, I'm really struggling with this now. Like, I don't want to feel like I don't want to ring that person because, there's going to be an argument to be had. I don't need the confrontation. I just want to work with people and get things right for them. And when it comes undone, even though I know I wasn't at fault, I'd had introduced the service provider, yes, but they had chosen to go with that service provider. Like, I'd introduced, a number of service providers. They chose that service provider, and then the choice didn't work out very well according to them. But then history tells us that they would go through and go, no.
Yeah.
So, and this is, we were working on that, and then it was like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. That's it. You introduced them. I'm not talking to you anymore. You have to talk to my nominee from now on. I am not having any more to do with you. What's the point of me being there?
Yeah. If you're not
Yeah, and that's the thing with trying to work on that self-regulation thing. We're working on give people a chance. Like, they have to get used to you as much as you have to get used to them.
And I think we've covered this over on the YouTube, is that, and I know we did it in the satire blog post of Rules for Support Workers, that sometimes it's not about you. Again, those triggers, and you're not always going to be everyone's favourite.
No.
You've got to respect that in a field house. Like, yes, there's choice and control, but sometimes you might be the newbie coming into an existing team. You might be the new support worker, for me, the new client.
Yeah.
And so I had to get used to new routine, new rules and regulations.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's even for you who has low needs. Someone that has higher needs, there's always that fear of, am I, because you don't know what the history is. Were they yelled at by a previous support worker? Were they spoken to badly? Were they treated badly during personal cares? Was there, and these are all triggers for people. And it's, as a new support worker coming in, it can be difficult. And I always found that you come in and you just roll with whatever's going for those first few weeks and let them get to know you and you get to know them, because you need to do that. You've got to build the rapport and the trust level with your participant, regardless of in what aspect, whether you're an OT or a psych or a speechy or a support worker. You have to build that confidence with, for them, with you.
Now, that leads nicely into our next topic. I know you've got the bill from the Hansard of the NDIS training, so I sent that to you a couple of nights ago. My thoughts on it are quite
new legislation.
Yeah, my thoughts are it's quite complex.
It's 100 pages. I looked at it and went, oh, I'm not going to print that. But then I struggle with reading too much on computer.
Yes.
But, yeah, it's kind of... and it needs to be looked at in detail, and that's why your advocates are all starting to go, whoa, hang on a minute, because they suck a few things in, as governments do.
Yeah, and like I did a TikTok going, well, hang on, was I not on the right mailing list? Because in my part of the world, I saw no town hall meetings, I saw no live streams.
They rushed it through. They really did push it through, which is a scary thing when the government does that.
It is. And so your thoughts on it? My thoughts are they're tightening it up, but how far did we need to go?
I'm not sure that this is like, yes, they've brought in mandatory registration as of the 3rd of October for support coordinators. Platform providers such as Mable, you know, they for some that wouldn't understand Mable, Higher Up, those kind of providers who work participant on one side, support worker on the other side. Support worker pays a fee to them, registers with them, lets them know, puts their profile up, lets them know availability. On this side, you've got participants who pay a fee, and that works the same. Like, they are looking for support, so they go looking at you know, support workers in their area. They look at, well, I've done it through a couple of my participants now. And I've got a
and generally
login on it. Yeah, but it's
generally independent support workers.
Yeah, but they don't want to be totally independent. So Mable and Higher Up and these platform providers will process the invoices and stuff in the background. So they put in their invoices to them, and then they process it and do everything and pay them. So it's a lot simpler than actually being an independent support worker, where you actually have to process all of that stuff yourself. You have to have your own service agreement, your own schedule of supports, all of those things, and they are provided through that platform. Now, they have mandatory registration as of the 3rd of October, which is today.
It's today. So how is that going to work? Because we don't know who's going to be the registration body. Is it going to be the Commission? Is it going to be APRA, which is the Australian Health Practitioners Agency?
That's interesting.
But there is going to be a grace period to get registered.
Yes, and that's the thing, and that's everyone's panicking. I know some of the support coordinators have been panicking and have been chasing around looking for brokers so that they can sit under a broker or under another support coordinator that's registered. Who else was it that needed to be registered as well? SIL providers.
SIL providers.
That was the other one.
SIL providers
had to be registered as of the 3rd. But again, they are looking. I know for a fact some of the plan managed SIL providers are looking for NDIS providers that they can sit under. So they're looking for those brokerage agencies, which is going to explode. And then how do we know that what is happening on the ground is still being done right? Even though with the brokerage firm, you have to be compliant. I was talking with a support coordinator the other day, and she already does the brokerage thing. They take 20% out of her. It's a big hit. It's a big hit. But then, like she said, she doesn't have to think about it. She just does her case notes, sends through her invoices to them, sends their hours in, and they do everything in the background. When it comes to compliance, they let her know that she was being audited and asked her for case notes, and just to make sure that her case notes were up to scratch. And that was it. That was her compliance. Wow, she's done.
This is where we're saying for independent support workers, and we're not trying to throw them under the bus, but your case notes and your ticks and flicks are so important. And the other one that I've seen is, and I don't know how this one's going to work, but it's very similar to the UK system. They're bringing in, as part of independent living options, is you can be sharing, say, a room with someone, and the caveat is they have to be a trained support worker, but for reduced rent, they can do care work.
That's independent living options that we have here.
Yeah.
So we have independent living options, and that's one of them.
So I'm like, there'd be a danger that they'd permanently be on call. So would there become a resentment?
Yeah, and that's the thing, and it's no different to living with anybody else.
Because you can have someone, a shitty roommate who steals the cornflakes and doesn't replace it.
Exactly.
I always go to
in
the
reality,
argument.
In reality, yeah. So it's, or there's another example with independent living options for here that roommates.
Yep.
Or a host family.
Yes.
So there's you can roommate, you can have a support worker, live with you. You can have live with a host family. And there's a fourth one as well. So that
Hacks?
No.
No. Hacks for our international listeners and viewers is home and community care. It was generally started in block funding days where a community nurse would generally come in and do make sure our oldies were cared for, looked after, that the sheets were changed, the groceries were done.
Yeah, that's right. And that's really the same as what your support workers do now.
It is.
It is in-home living with support worker, drop-in supports.
And I know a community nurse can be a support worker, but a support worker can't be a community nurse.
No, that's right.
And
they don't have the quals to do that, because the community nurse can do, your diabetic injections, things like that. So invasive stuff, anything like enemas, stuff like that. Support worker can't do that unless they've been trained and they've got that training in place. I know when my daughter was working with Spinal Life, she had done bowel therapy, so she was able to do that.
I remember you telling me the whole story.
She's 18 and she's doing bowel therapy. She's a pretty amazing kid, really.
Good on her.
But she was like, but when that all started, she said, "Well, Mum, how do I do that?" And I said, "Well, it's about dignity for this person. They don't really want to have that done to them either.
No.
But just have a normal conversation about movies or where you've been for the weekend or whatever while you're doing this. And it takes away from the fact of what you're doing. It's like personal cares when you're showering people. If you've got someone that fully needs to be fully showered, because you always ask, can you shower those down under bits?
Yes.
Can you wash yourself there? Generally, it's in the support plan anyway.
It is.
But by the same token, it's just skin. And if they can't clean themselves, how are they going to get clean?
And I'm kind of laughing because it's now standard practice for the support workers who have to shower one of my housemates. It's now mandatory because of her cheekiness for them to have a second pair of clothes. Her hand mobility has improved that much that she's now spraying them.
Oh, good on her. That's a good thing though, because she's obviously, she is being cheeky. Yeah, so that's her personality coming through. That's fantastic.
It is, and I was saying I was at home last weekend.
I always used to carry an extra set of clothes, an extra pair of shoes and everything with me anyway, always. You never know.
And guys, it's amazing that you've got to remember that person as well, and that leads into best practice with your case notes. So if you've got your case notes and you're doing personal cares, write down what they've been doing. I don't think anyone's going to mind. Be mindful of your security. Have a notebook of their friends and their family. You can ask after them the movies that they're watching. They've got Netflix.
Look, when I used to do respite, I used to go in and I, because I was doing awake shifts.
Yeah.
10:30 p.m. start till 8:30, finish 3 nights in a row I used to do. But Monday and Tuesday, that was Thursday, Friday, Saturday night I used to do for the awake shifts, and I used to do Monday and Tuesday 4 till 8. So all the incoming, when they came in, because each week there'd be, different people. So when they were arriving and sorting through clothes and meds and all of that kind of stuff in the support plans, and I always would take note of when medications were due, if there was anything specific as far as personal cares were concerned.
Yep, because people can get pretty picky about that.
Yeah, food allergies and things like that was the other thing. Because, I'd cook, clean and do personal cares, which is some things that some support workers just don't do. but they just want to do coffees.
Yeah.
You know, which is lovely. But, you know, if you can get that opportunity every now and then, it's nice.
That's probably where you'd be better off channeling that into just day centre.
But the thing is too, like I look
Even
at
in the day centre, you're going to be doing personal care.
Yeah.
There might be someone who needs to go to the toilet, changing aids, putting creams on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, as a support worker, it's helping someone that can't do for themselves. And there's nothing, you've got to make that as dignified as possible for them and not uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it's got to be, you know, you keep it casual and cruisy and just, you know, but I've seen some support workers, you know, say some fairly nasty, oh, you had to do this while I was on shift, didn't you? Like, you know, if someone's going to have a bowel explosion, they're going to have it at 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock or whenever it happens.
Yeah.
And let's face it, that's never convenient.
No.
But it is just how it is. So you just go through and, geez, mate, this wasn't real good. What have you been eating? Have you, are you uncomfortable? Is your tummy sore? You know, what's happening? You know.
And if you're a young one, talking about the Reddit poop knife.
Yeah.
The fact that Deb knows about the Reddit poop knife, like I was saying about.
I've got plungers in both my toilets at home.
Guys, internet culture is internet culture. We didn't say us who live on the internet have any sort of class.
What do they say? More in class?
Yes. And more us in class as well. Guys,
but, you know.
That's the thing, guys. And, guys, I'm looking at our time. I will see you guys on the other side as well.
And we really didn't touch on the legislation that much.
Well, we can do that one on the other side. This
is
kind of a life update as well. So, guys, see you on the other side. And thanks to our producer. We now have one now. Great thanks to her now.
Yes.
She's doing it out of the kindness of her heart as well. So we are building up a team. So if you want to go and support us over on Patreon, that we can actually pay them. They are volunteers at the moment. I'd love to transition to having a paid team. See you guys. We'll see you on the other side.